Okay, so if you're new to this channel, my name is Asim. 11 years ago, my wife and I pulled our kids out of school. It was probably one of the best decisions we've ever made. My eldest daughter, Miriam, who's 20, is studying French and Arabic at Oxford. My son, who's 18, finished his A-levels when he was 11. A-levels are the British exams for 18-year-olds. And my youngest daughter, Sabine, 16, she has a guaranteed place at Cambridge. She has to wait another year and a half to go because she applied 3 years early, young, and she's only allowed to go there a year young. So all three of our kids had a great time. We had a great time homeschooling. All three of our kids actually want to homeschool their own kids. Now, I wanted to just quickly give you another massive benefit of homeschool, which I have not really kind of focused on so far, which is the fact that kids learn at their own pace and the impact that has on motivation. So I was quite a motivated kid at school. I worked, especially in the sciences, because basically I was right at the top of my year in terms of results. Physics, I was like pretty much the best at physics. Maths, I was out of 100. This is 100 people in my school in my year. So physics, I was like the best basically, and maths, I was in the group of the top like 3 or 4. In those subjects, it was really easy for me to be motivated. There was that competition. I was like one of the best in the school or in the year. And other subjects as well, it was in other subjects I was pretty good, apart from like the languages. So I was pretty terrible at languages. And in the languages, I was actually in lower sets. So, there were we had sets around 4 or 5 levels. So I think in English and French, I was in the second set out of 5. And in Latin, I didn't think they had sets in Latin, but I was really bad at Latin. Whatever set I was in, I just did really badly at it. But you know what? When you're constantly compared with other students, it's really hard to be motivated. So I'm not naturally good at languages, and I wasn't motivated. It's the reason I didn't like French and English and Latin were because I was basically not in that top set. I was not in that elite group, and basically, kind of like it's if you're not really good at something, it's very difficult. If you're constantly reminded that you're not good at something, it's very difficult to be motivated. We're very motivated by our egos, right? So when we're good at something, we'll be motivated, and when we find out that we're not so good at something, we'll not be so motivated, and that's just like human nature. So that's how I was really motivated at certain subjects. Now the thing is that when you're so it's really hard then to motivate your kids if they're going to be in these. There's very few kids that are right at the top, right? So most of these kids that aren't are constantly kind of being like demotivated by the system. And what homeschool does is really allows you to pull yourself out of that, and it's something that I think my kids have really benefited from. So not only have they done whatever subjects they've wanted to do completely out of choice, and they've done it when they've wanted to do, they've also not had this kind of factor in there which is demotivating them. So Sabine, the youngest one, she kind of she likes to do things she's a bit of a perfectionist, so she took longer to do her A-levels, but she's the only one in out of the 3 that when she did it kind of first time, when she did it young, she got A stars in them, while the elder 2 got A's when they first did them. And so I remember when she was doing her physics A-level, I can't remember when it was, probably like 2 years ago, she deliberately, she wanted, I called it, she could have done it in January, and she would have probably got an A star. And she kind of said, look, she didn't want to do it in January, she wanted to do it in June. And I asked her why. So why didn't you just get it out of the way, do it early? And she said, look, she doesn't want that pressure. She doesn't, she just wanted to do it at her own pace. And I kind of spoke to her, I kind of tried to encourage her to do it in January. She said no, and I said cool. And so, it's just it's just a really nice thing that kids can learn at their own pace without any kind of without any kind of, kind of pressure, constant comparison. And that's a really, that can be a very, very, and that can just make things a lot more fun to learn, right? So you're kind of learning, you're making progress. And the fact that you're not constantly seeing someone thrashing you compared to what you're doing. So I think it's just a nice thing that is really that homeschool just makes it a more pleasant environment to learn. And not only are you kind of like learning what you want to learn at your own pace, but you're kind of doing it without that massive pressure. And you know what, even if if the kids are really, really slow and can't learn and like do the exam, why should A levels be done by necessarily by 18-year-olds? Why can't it be done 19 or 20? I'm pretty confident 99% of homeschoolers, if they're pulled out early enough, would do the exams early. But yeah, they don't have to be done at 18. They could be done at 20 or 25 or whatever. You should just go at your own pace. And for so many kids out there, it's kind of almost torturous, right? What they have to go through, like constantly being kind of like told by the system, essentially being told by the system that you're not smart, there's like you're in the bottom 30% or whatever it is, you're average. Even that, that's not exactly encouraging either, you're average. And it's just like, and kids are kind of having to go through that for years and years and years. And really that can't be good. For their self-esteem, their kind of like confidence. When the system is telling you year in, year out. I feel that with languages, right? So I just kind of like, I felt that throughout the whole thing, that I'm just kind of like, I'm not good at it, and it's just like, it's not good. Lucky I was excelling in other subjects, but I think it's just like psychologically, I think we're really letting our kids down in a big way by kind of like having to kind of like constantly be kind of like telling them, no, you're not smart, you're not good, you're nothing special, you're just like below average or average. And how do we expect them to be like motivated like in that kind of environment? How can it's like you're really kind of fighting against it. Yeah, fine, if you're like right at the top of the year, fine, you got to maintain that position and whatever. Okay, that's motivating, that's kind of drives you. But if you're like in the middle, is it really good for your character, your confidence? So what often happens is that kids won't enjoy that being in class because they're not doing particularly well. And then you've got that parental pressure. It's kind of understandable. Parents want their kids to do well. And, the whole thing just becomes a nightmare for kids. And then, it's just like, and I think, it's just not, it can't be pleasant. And this is kids' childhoods, right? So we're talking about people's childhood being kind of like, they're losing confidence, they're being pressured by their parents, and they don't want to do this, they're not enjoying it. And we're kind of expecting them to do that for years, right? It's not a 1 month program. It's like for years they're going to experience this, and it's not good. I think homeschool really can really take all of that away and bring out the joy of study. And I think my kids have had that, and that's I think best shown by the fact that my son, who's 18. Like last year, he just decides to do an A level in French, right? He's not particularly good at languages. He's like as bad as I am, basically. He just decides to do an A level in French. Look how much confidence he's got. He just goes for it, and he hasn't got a GCSE in French. His mother does speak French, but he's not fluent at all. And he kind of realized the reason he decided to do it was because he realized that his French was worse than a 6-year-old, a French 6-year-old, and yet it's kind of spoken in the house. And he got an A, and he just decides to do it by himself. And that's really, I think, a result of homeschool, where he's got this kind of passion to learn, and also kind of like a belief that he can go and do things which by himself. And he just kind of he did it because his sister was doing an A level in French, and he just decided to do it with her. So yeah, I think that's the kind of result you get when you kind of have that environment, which is just kind of like away from all the pressures of exams and whatever, and you kind of like do the exams because you almost kind of want to as an achievement, rather than because you're kind of having to compete and with other people.